Hey, what's up guys, it's Apollo Uchiha here back with the next part of What If Naruto was struck by lightning, and if you haven't, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel, and without further ado, let's continue our story. It had been 3 weeks since Naruto had awoken from his coma. After his outburst with Hiruzen had taken him to his new apartment. The apartment wasn't anything too special, but it was perfect for Naruto. It had a small kitchen with a single bedroom. It had plenty of closet space with a living room that was big enough to fit a TV and a couch. Naruto immediately fell in love with this apartment. It was shocking that it was stocked fully with food and bookshelves that contained books concerning first-year academy education. Naruto was now outside facing a tree with a determined look on his face. You see, most 5-year kids spend their time playing with their friends or their toys, but Naruto was different. He had been pushed around too much in his opinions, so he drove himself into training. The first thing he realized was that his chakra control was shit. It took him almost 3 full weeks to get the leaf exercise together. This consisted of him trying to stick a leaf or several leaves on his body, using only his chakra. Most of the time, the leaf would blow away as soon as it made contact with his skin. But Naruto was not underrated. After weeks of training, he managed to get the leaves on his body to stick. But now he faced his greatest challenge so far, tree climbing. Not just from the title, most people would think this was a simple task, even for civilians. Unfortunately for young ninjas in training, this was a hard task indeed. Naruto had to use his chakra to stick himself onto the tree and climb up to it. This was a chakra control exercise that was meant to sharpen his chakra control. Naruto took off, running off towards the tree. Naruto sped towards the tree and lightning fast speed at the least for a 5-year-old. He approached the tree and slammed his foot against it. His other foot slammed roughly against the bark. Naruto took another step that sent him several more feet up to the tree. Naruto was about to take another step when he felt himself losing grip. "No!" Naruto said. Naruto's foot slipped off from the tree. His hands were thrown into the air in an attempt to grab a branch to hold him up. Unfortunately, there was nothing for him to do or hold on to. Naruto slammed roughly into the ground back first. He ground in pain as waves of it were sent throughout his body. In the back of his mind, he could hear Kyuubi laughing at his pain. "Okay, you shut up, you stupid fox," Naruto said. They only made Kyuubi even more laugh. Naruto stood up and looked at the tree. One day I will conquer you. I will defeat your almighty tree, and you and your children, saplings, will bow down to me," Naruto said. The tree obviously did not answer Naruto. This only pissed Naruto off. Naruto heard some more chuckling from behind him. He turned around with an angry look on his face because he thought the other trees were mocking him. Instead, it was Hiruzen. Naruto's face split into a wide grin. "Hey, Oji-san," Naruto said. Naruto ran over and gave Hiruzen a hug. Hiruzen returned the hug. "Naruto, how would you like to go shopping for the Ninja Academy?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto let out courses of yeses. Hiruzen laughed. "Okay, get yourself washed up and meet me outside of the apartment, ne?" Hiruzen said. Naruto yelled and ran into the house. 5 minutes later, Naruto bounded out of the house with shorts and a t-shirt he owned. His smile was beaming because he was excited to get some new things. Naruto ran up to the Hiruzen and started to drag him through the village. Halfway through, Hiruzen flipped the positions and tracked Naruto to a weapon store. The weapon store was named Yamashita's Weapon. Naruto and Hiruzen walked through the door of the store. The door had a bell connected to it as it trunked. The shoppers in the store all looked towards the newcomers. The smile grew when they saw Hiruzen, but immediately fell when they saw Naruto. Hiruzen frowned and led Naruto through the store. Naruto marveled at the variety of the weapons in the store. He completely ignored the looks from the other shoppers. Naruto ran from wall to wall in an attempt to soak up all of the weapons he could. He saw claws, gauntlets, swords, shurikens, kunais, branch swords, axes, arrows, bows, and even seals. Naruto enjoyed every second of this experience. Hiruzen noticed that whenever Naruto got close to a weapon, it would vibrate and seemed to start moving itself towards Naruto. Luckily, the weapons were secured, so Hiruzen didn't worry. Hiruzen, in the meanwhile, had walked up to the counter and started talking to the owner. He noticed that the rest of the shoppers were still giving Naruto dirty looks. He also noticed that Naruto didn't seem to really care about them. He found that relieving and worrying. but he decided to think about that later on. Hiruzen made it to the front desk and rang the bell. After several seconds, a middle-aged man walked out of the back of the store. Ah, Sanji, it's so nice to see you, Hiruzen said. So nice to see you too, Hiruzen, Sanji said. The two exchanged a handshake and Hiruzen leaned onto the counter. So, why are you here, Hiruzen? I doubt you need any weapon except for your staff, Sanji asked jokingly. Hiruzen laughed and then pointed at Naruto. Sanji followed his finger and saw Naruto. His smile fell when he saw Naruto. Hiruzen's smile fell when he saw this. Do you have a problem with Naruto, Sanji? Because if you do, then we are going to have a problem as well. Sanji waved his hand in protest. No, no, I don't have a problem with him. I have a problem with the way he is being treated. That boy is a hero. He doesn't deserve the type of treatment he gets, Sanji said. Hiruzen let out a sigh of relief. Good. I don't want our friendship to be ruined and ended by such a petty thing. Now I need to find Naruto a weapon, something lightweight and fast for his small stature, Hiruzen said. I think I have just... Sanji was interrupted when Naruto slammed the blade on the counter. I want it, Naruto said. Hiruzen and Sanji looked at the blade. The sword was a scimitar that split it off into two sharp ends. It wasn't too curved, but was still very deadly. It was light and perfectly fit for Naruto. Ah, this was the weapon I was actually about to get you, Sanji said. Naruto completely ignored the man while staring at the sword. Sanji laughed when he saw this. Hiruzen chuckled as well when he saw the way Naruto stared at the blade. It seems like Naruto has really found his weapon, huh? Hiruzen said. Sanji chuckled and then rung up the weapon. That will be 1,000 yen, Sanji said. Hiruzen looked at Sanji with shock. He knew that he had to pay his with own money, since the council would have a fit if they found out that he was spending money on Naruto. Hey Sanji, can I get a discount? You know, for our old friend? Hiruzen asked. Sanji gave Hiruzen a look. Then Luke said, Don't fuck with me. Hiruzen sighed in defeat. He knew Sanji was cheap and wouldn't let money slip out of his pockets. Hiruzen dug his hand into his robe and took out his wallet. He reluctantly took out 1,000 yen. He placed it on the counter in defeat. Sanji chuckled evilly before taking the 1,000 yen. Thank you for your purchase. Please feel free to borrow some more, Sanji said. Hiruzen groaned in defeat when he realized that he actually had to buy more stuff in the store. Sanji wares may be expensive as hell, but they were good quality. Hiruzen started to lead Naruto once again through the store. Naruto paid no attention to him as he looked at his newly acquired sword. The sword had carvings in it that seemed to melt at the handle. Naruto swung it once, and he heard a swoosh sound from the sword. Naruto loved the sword. Hiruzen had finally managed to drag Naruto to the clothing section. Seeing that Naruto was still distracted, Hiruzen decided to pick out his clothes. He brought him several pairs of pure black shirt and several pairs of navy blue pants. He brought him shinobi sandals and several sets of kunais and shurikens. He then led Naruto back to the counter. That will be 25 yen. 100 yen, Sanji said with a smirk on his face. At this point, Hiruzen was basically dying at his prices. He once actually again reluctantly took out his wallet and paid Sanji. Sanji gleefully took the money and began to seal the objects in a scroll. By this point, Naruto had finally gotten out of the shock of getting a new object. He looked up at Hiruzen with tears in his eyes. Hiruzen looked confused. Did Naruto enjoy his new gift? Why are you crying, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked. Naruto let out a couple of sniffles before looking up at Hiruzen with a smile on his face. I'm not sad, Uchiha-san. This is the first time anybody has gotten anything for me, Naruto said. Hiruzen smiled sadly and then kneeled down. He engulfed Naruto into a hug for several seconds before releasing him. Naruto wiped away his tears and then looked at his new clothes. Hiruzen thanked Sanji and then started to lead Naruto out the store. The shoppers who had actually stayed in the store looked at Naruto in disgust as he happily skipped out of the store. Hiruzen led Naruto out of the store and onto the streets. It seemed like several villagers had been waiting for Hiruzen to exit. A crowd of civilians surrounded Naruto and Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, why are you buying things for this brat? Please don't tell me that you're planning to enroll him into the ninja academy. If so, then I can't allow my child to attend the same class as this boy, as random civilians said. Hiruzen frowning. No, he wasn't really frustrated with the statement of the man made. He actually had been dealing with that all morning when he told the council he would be enrolling Naruto. He was angry that this civilian had the nerve to say it in Naruto's face. He then took a look at Naruto to make sure he was okay. He was surprised to see Naruto looked more angry than mad. Hiruzen then remembered what Naruto said earlier and smirked. Well, Naruto-kun, seeing as you were so stern on your earlier proclamation. Why don't I let you handle this one? Naruto looked up in shock at what his Oji-san said. He seemed too mad at him yesterday, but now he was actually encouraging him. Naruto grinned and nodded at Hiruzen. He then turned to the crowd of civilians with a fierce look on his face. First of all, I would like to say that you are all pathetic in my eyes. Naruto started off with. All of the villagers flinched in surprise. Even Hiruzen was surprised at this. You are all hate a 5-year-old so much that you allow it to affect your life. That is a very stupid. I have seen animals that have more smarts than you people. Now please get out of our way so I can try on my new sets of clothes and go on with my life. Naruto finished. All of the other villagers stood in shock at Naruto's new attitude. Hiruzen was quietly laughing behind his hand at the villager's face. After several minutes of silence and having an intense stare down, one of the civilians, bigger one, stepped forward with a pissed off look on his face. Why don't you shut up, you demon brat? You are a pathetic piece of shit and should have died with your whore of a mother and that bitch of a father you had. The villager killed that pathetic waste of space. QB yelled in his mind. The man puffed out his chest and closed his eyes. The villager behind him smirked on their faces, thinking that he had just put the demon in his place. Riren stood quietly behind Naruto. He was beyond pissed at this moment, but wanted to see what Naruto would do. The man still had his eyes closed, and as he waited, the demon back to retort. What he didn't know was that he had made a very bad mistake. He sat down. His eyes were covered by his hair. If someone looked closely, they could see sparks flying off of his skin. The sparks started to become more visible as Naruto seemed to get angrier. After several seconds, the civilians could see the sparks coming off Naruto. The man started to get tired of waiting. It seems that like the bread isn't as tough. The man wasn't able to finish as Naruto was speeding towards him. Naruto reached the man and buried his whole fist into the man's stomach. Naruto was so fast that the Anbu that was watching him lost track of him until he stopped moving. Naruto's punch was so powerful that it lifted the man off his feet. While the man was midair, Naruto twisted his body. He moved his fist back and at the ground, and man followed him. The man roughly slammed into the ground with a solid thud. Naruto retracted his fist and looked at the man. The man was groaning in pain, but he would also twitch at random occurrences. Don't you ever talk about my parents. I want you to tell this to all of your friends that seems to hold a grudge against me. I'm not taking any more of your shit. From now on, I'm going to protect myself, Naruto said before sliding back next to Hiruzen. It's not killing, but it's good enough. For now, Kyuubi said. Hiruzen stood in shock at Naruto's speed and power. A 5-year-old had managed to lift a grown man off of his feet. He was so surprised at the sparks that seemed to be coming off of Naruto. It seemed like whatever effects Naruto got from the lightning, it was permanent. Good job, Naruto, Hiruzen said while ruffling Naruto's hair. Hiruzen smiled and then turned to the group of civilians. As for you guys, I honestly don't care whether or not your bigotry will not allow your children to join Naruto in learning the ninja arts, Hiruzen said. Hiruzen then turned to the down man. And as for you, I will not be arresting you today. I think the aspect of you getting your ass beaten by a 5-year-old is a punishment enough for a man like you, Hiruzen said with a smirk on his face. The man let out a groan of pain and completely ignored Hiruzen. Hiruzen stood up and then looked at Naruto. Well, why don't we go home, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen said. Naruto nodded and Hiruzen led him through the stunned crowd. The villagers were watching from distance, still through Naruto looks of anger and disgust, but Naruto would respond with his own looks of middle finger. After several minutes, Naruto finally arrived at his home. After saying goodbye to Hiruzen, he entered his apartment. He put away his new clothes and got into his bed. It was a little early for him to go to sleep, but he was tired. Naruto fell asleep with a smile on his face. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes to see himself back into the mindscape. He saw Kyuubi lazily sitting in the cage. When Kyuubi saw Naruto, he let out a low growl. What the hell do you want, you damn brat? Kyuubi said. Why can't we just friends, Kyuubi-san? Let's be honest here, Naruto asked innocently. Kyuubi's claw came flying out of the cage at Naruto, but once again, an arc of lightning stepped out. It's because I want to kill you, you idiot. I am the nine-tailed fox, a being completely made out of chakra and hatred. I don't want to be your friend. The only reason I am here, even conversing with you, because I can kill you, right now at least. As soon as I escape, I shall feast upon your bone and quench my thirst with your blood, Kyuubi yelled. Naruto, seeing the Kyuubi wouldn't change, become mad. Well, fine. You can sit here and rot in the cage. You will never get out, Naruto yelled. Kyuubi chuckled and sat down on its 4 legs. Even if I don't escape, boy, I will make your life living hell. You can never escape me, boy. You are sealed. We are bound together by this seal. As long as this remains, my warning shall remain true. I will make sure to torture you. Now get out of here and don't bother me, QB said before realizing a powerful roar. The roar blasted towards Naruto. Naruto was back into the darkness that seemed to inhabit it in his mind and out of the mindscape. Real where Naruto shot out of his bed and sweat covering his body. After collecting himself, Naruto started his day. He put on a pair of new clothes and ran straight outside to his dreaded enemy, the tree. He took a running start and put his foot on the tree. He continued to slowly climb up the tree, 1 foot at a time. After several seconds, he finally made it to the top. He began to cheer in excitement. Unfortunately, he lost his concentration and fell back to the ground. He slammed back first into the ground. He groaned in pain again and anger. Naruto jumped back up and attempted to walk up the tree again. This time he was successful and he was able to walk back down. Naruto continued this for half an hour. After that, he was satisfied that he had gotten down tree climbing. It was also at that exact moment that Hiruzen came into Naruto's backyard. "Hey Naruto-kun, it's good to see you practicing your ninja techniques early this morning," Hiruzen said. Naruto turned around in surprise and smiled when he saw his Oji-san was there. "Thank you, Oji-san. I want to be the best ninja in Konoha. I need more practice, you know," Naruto said. Hiruzen chuckled at Naruto's enthusiasm. "That's good to know, Naruto-kun. I just wanted to tell you that the Ninja Academy starts in 2 weeks," Hiruzen said. Hiruzen nodded once Hiruzen made sure he was okay. Hiruzen sauntered away, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. "I'm going to need to step up my training," Naruto thought. "Well, trial and error hasn't failed me yet," Naruto said before diving back into the training with more vigor. 1 week and 6 days later, Naruto had gone through some rigorous training. He would force himself to go through different exercises such as push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, chin-ups. After finishing his physical exercises, he would then go into his house and read books upon chakra control and so on. Although Naruto hated reading, he knew that he had to learn in order to do well in the academy that he had been Naruto's schedule for the past 2 weeks. But tonight was the night before his first day of the Ninja Academy. Naruto decided to rest his body and mind. Naruto had set his clothes out and decided to go to sleep. QB also decided to let him get a full sleep so he didn't bring him into his mindscape. Unfortunately, tonight was not the right night for that. Outside of Naruto's apartment, a small group of civilians and low-level ninjas are gathered outside. Now that this is the last chance for us to stop the demon brat from joining our children in the academy. I don't know about you guys, but I will not allow my daughter to stay in the class, same as the demon, a man said. Once he got closer, we realized it was the same man that Naruto had attacked in the street. The small crowd of the villagers let out a quiet yell of agreement. Once the man made sure that everyone was ready, he quietly snuck into the apartment door. He kicked the door open, and the small crowd gathered into Naruto's living room. After several moments of searching, they managed to locate Naruto's bedroom. They all gathered in it and prepared to attack him in Naruto's dream. Naruto was currently having a very pleasant dream. He was swimming in a pool of ramen. He had Ayame, the nice blonde lady that took him to the hospital once, and the nice lady with the purple hair that took care of him since and was serving him ramen naked. Now this may seem like a weird dream for a 5-year-old, but Naruto was no normal 5-year-old. All in all, Naruto was enjoying this dream. Naruto was currently nested up to the lady with blonde hair. Ayame was sitting in the right side, while the lady with the purple hair was on the left. Ayame was in the middle of feeding Naruto when his eyes suddenly snapped open. His dream dissolved in front of him. He was thrown back into the real world. In the real world, Naruto's eyes suddenly snapped open and he was greeted to not a pleasant sight. He was surrounded by what seemed to be civilians and low-level ninjas. They all stared at him and he stared back at them. It was a pretty awkward situation. What are you people doing in my apartment? Naruto said. We are here to end your existence, team. And the same man said. All of the villagers cheers and then started to attack Naruto. Each one of the villagers had some type of weapon. They raised in attempt to attack Naruto. Unfortunately for both Naruto and the villagers, Naruto had not learned to fully control his magnetic field. Also, most of the weapons were metal. As the villagers came close with their weapons, they started to shake and simply right out of the villager's hand. The sight of over 30 ones flying towards him woke Naruto up. He quickly sped out of the bedroom with only his pajamas. When Naruto landed on his feet several feet away from the crowd, he growled and then shot towards his closet. He returned out of it with his scimitar. Naruto then charged the villagers. Yes, spill their blood. Paint your walls with it. QB yelled in glee. The first person Naruto met was a civilian. Naruto appeared with his scimitar, ready to slash the civilian. The civilian threw a sloppy punch at Naruto, ducked under. While Naruto was crouched, he stabbed his mister in the villager's stomach. He retracted the sword and then dodged the falling body of the villager. Suddenly, the small group of five genin jumped in front of Naruto. One of them threw a haymaker at Naruto. Naruto dodged it to his left, but the other genin was waiting for him. Naruto slashed, but the genin countered with his kunai. The two were now engaging in a powerful struggle. Unfortunately for the genin, his kunai was metal. Naruto closed his eyes and a spark started to erupt and come off of his skin strongly. Suddenly, the genin started to shake randomly. The Guardians fell off to the ground, twitching randomly. Naruto had managed to shock the Guardian using the electricity. They came off his body. Naruto had no time to enjoy his slight victory because of the other four Guardians. He turned around and saw two of the Guardians were flying towards him. Naruto held out his palms towards the one of the Guardian as he was flying to him. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning came shooting out of his hand. The Guardian, being in a midair, was not able to dodge the bolt. He fell to the ground, a twitching and burning mess. Naruto let a duck under the other flying Guardian. He managed to kick Naruto's sword out of his hand in the midair, then landed on his feet and then jumped right back at Naruto. Naruto was about to jump up and dodge the Guardian, but he felt growing heat in his back. Naruto figured it was a fireball and decided to dive right. The jumped Ganin slid under the fireball as the fireball hit Naruto's apartment wall. The apartment was immediately set ablaze. When Naruto saw his apartment was once again about to burn down, he started to get mad. Sparks started to erupt, more visible. Naruto disappeared from Ninja's side. The two ninjas were confused at where Naruto was. Suddenly, Naruto appeared in front of one of Ganin. His fist was covered in lightning. Naruto punched the Ganin and sent him flying into the wall. Naruto then threw another punch, but the Ganin dodged. Naruto continued to throw punches, but the Ganin dodged. The Ganin finally threw a punch that sent Naruto flying through the burning wall. Naruto landed roughly in the streets of Konoha. Two remaining Ganins appeared in front of Naruto with a smirk on their face. The civilian that had in the apartment had filled out when they saw the apartment was burning down. Now they watched from the silence. The ninja dealt with Naruto. Well, well, well. Looks how far the demon has fallen. Any last word? Naruto said nothing, but closed his eyes. The Ganin took a sign of defeat and took out Ganon. Naruto opened his eyes and saw the kunai. His eyes suddenly brightened. As he had no idea, suddenly sparks started to fly off Naruto. This was the biggest amount that anybody has ever seen. The kunai began whistling out of the hands of Ganin. Naruto moved his hand so the kunai dug into the shoulder. The Ganin looked in surprise. Suddenly, the Ganin heard a crashing noise behind him. He turned around and saw that Naruto's chemister was rocketing towards him. The chemister buried itself heels deep inside the Ganin's chest. The other Ganin still looked in shock as he saw that his partner had just died. Naruto saw the other Ganin was distracted and quickly pulled out the kunai out of his shoulder and threw it, and it buried itself deep in the Ganin's stomach. The surrounding civilians stood in shock that Naruto had just killed 5 ninjas. Hiruzen landed in front of the scene. Several seconds later, he was shocked to see Naruto kneeling down on the ground with the bodies of the two Ganins next to him. He was also surprised to see that Naruto's new apartment was now set ablaze. Naruto-kun, what happened? These people attacked me while I was sleeping. I defended myself, but one of them set my apartment on fire. Naruto said with tears in his eyes. He was upset that he had already lost his new apartment. Defending yourself, huh? You know you enjoy your moment of killing these pathetic flashbacks. Kyuubi said, shut up, Kyuubi. Naruto yelled within his mind. I shall shut up when you finally admit you enjoyed killing these humans. Kyuubi said. Hiruzen glanced at the dead bodies. He secretly signaled the Anbu to take the dead bodies to the medical center and take the injured and surrounding civilians to the interrogation and the torture department. The Anbu dropped from the roof and took civilians and ninjas away. Why don't you stay with me tomorrow? You can stay with me until we find you somewhere else to live. Naruto nodded, and then Hiruzen took them away back to his house. Hiruzen got Naruto to sleep and then Sunshin to the IATD. When he got there, all the civilians and ninja were in separate cells. A man stood in the middle of all of it. The man was tall and very intimidating. He had a bandana on and a scar running down his face. His face seemed to be set in stone. He had a black overcoat. He was none other than Ibiki, leader of the IATD. What can you tell me, Ibiki? Hiruzen asked. A lot actually. They all seemed excited to tell about how they almost killed the demon, the man said. Naruto, embarrassed weeks ago, seemed to put together the group. They waited till tonight and attacked. Their reason was because they didn't want Naruto learning the ninja arts. The Ganin did most of the work. Naruto killed each of the dead ninja and civilians, Ibiki said. Hiruzen nodded. Execute them all. Ibiki raised his eyebrow at this, but nonetheless gave his order. Suddenly, black gas filled the room. Screams could be heard coming out of the cell. After 20 seconds, the screams stopped. Smoke was sucked out of the room. Nothing remaining of the bodies. Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction. He said goodbye to the Ibiki and sauntered back home. He made sure Naruto was still asleep and returned to the bed himself. Things were starting to get very interesting for Konoha. Chapter 3. Last night was very interesting and hectic night for Naruto. He was attacked by a group of villagers and shinobi. His new apartment and all of his new clothes were burnt down, and he was forced to kill several people last night. The fact that he had actually killed someone came to him during the middle of the night. Strangely, he felt no remorse but only satisfaction. He had defended himself and defeated those monsters. After a while, he thought nothing of it and went back to sleep. But today was a very important day for Naruto. It was his first day at the Ninja Academy. Hiruzen had woken him up early and got him a new set of clothes. Now he was heading out towards the Ninja Academy. The villagers were still giving him dirty looks, but right now Naruto didn't care. All he was thinking about was how awesome his classes were going to be. After 10 minutes walk, he finally arrived at the Ninja Academy. It seemed like the teachers were not allowing anybody in yet, so every student and their parents were now waiting outside of the academy. As soon as Naruto stepped onto the campus, everybody isolated on him. Naruto stood nervously as 100 eyes seemed to try to pierce into his soul. Slowly Naruto could see the piercing eye turn into disgusting sneers. It seemed like each one of the parents hated Naruto. Naruto slowly put his head down to avoid the stares. After several seconds, one of the civilian parents tried to comfort Naruto. "What are you doing here, demon? No matter what you do, no matter how much you help them, they will always hate you. In their eyes, they see you is a demon. You are pathetic if you think you can change them," QB said in a mocking voice. Naruto growled, but quickly composed himself. He turned to a civilian with a wide smile on his face that seemed to scream in his, "I came here to learn like your children." Naruto said, "Don't act like you like my children, you're a disgusting piece of trash." The civilian said. Naruto clenched his fist in anger. He knew that he couldn't attack a civilian just because of insult. "Who says you couldn't? If they insult you, I would tore through their bodies. Look, just want to learn. Please leave me alone and return to your children." The civilian kneeled down and came face to face with Naruto. "Are you threatening me, brat?" The civilian said, while Naruto got into face. Naruto got closer and squinted his eyes in anger. "Now I'm advising you to go back to your children before you embarrass yourself." The civilian huffed and then reeled back in his arm. He was about to push Naruto, but his arm was stopped by a ninja. The civilian looked back and saw a ninja. Ninja shook his head. The civilian huffed again before lowering his hand. He shot Naruto a dirty look again before returning to his family. Naruto decided to leave the man alone and waited for the teacher to address his students. For now, he had to deal with this massive amount of dirt he was receiving from the parents of the student. "I really hope he punched you. I want to see you kill him," QB said. After several minutes of pure agony of Naruto, the principal of the school came out for addressing the students. "Hello everybody, today is a wonderful day for Konoha. For today we all shall start the education of another generation of Konoha ninja." A roar of cheers from both parents and students rang throughout the village. It would seem like everyone was excited to start his or her ninja careers. The principal nodded at the obvious excitement. "Well, I won't be keeping you waiting anymore. Students, fill into the academy. A Ganin will guide you to your assigned classroom," the principal said. The students said their last goodbye to their parents before running to the building. Naruto decided to wait for everyone to go inside before going in himself. After several minutes, Naruto decided to go in. The lobby was filled with academy students. He could see several students his age going in a certain direction and decided to follow them. After going through what seemed like a maze of hallways, they finally arrived at the classroom. The Ganin guide them, let them in, and closed the door when everyone inside. Waiting for them in the room was teacher. The teacher seemed very young. He had pineapple-shaped hair and a scar across his face and nose. He had a gentle smile on his face. "Hello everyone, I am Iruka Umino, but you can call me Iruka Sensei or Umino Sensei. I will be teaching you during the year and your time here in Ninja Academy." The class nodded and started to file up their seats. Naruto, using his advanced speed, managed to get the seat that was directly in the corner. Iruka made sure everybody was seated and started to go through his role. Naruto decided to lay his head down. "Naruto Uzumaki," Iruka said hesitantly when his name was called. "Looks like your teacher is another one of your haters," QB said. Naruto raised his head and said, "Here." When he raised his head, he came eye to eye with Iruka. Naruto could see a lot of hate hidden in his eyes. Naruto sighed before laying his head back down. It was not going to be a very good experience for Naruto. Later that day, Naruto marched into the Sarutobi clan home with his head down. He marched towards him appointed room and slammed the door behind him. He would not answer for anybody, even asked him. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen was currently buried under the ban of all leaders' paperwork. It seems like he was getting a lot of complaints with Naruto going to the academy this morning. Suddenly, Asuma barged into Hiruzen's office. Now, usually Hiruzen would be mad, but he was currently in the need of break. What's wrong, Asuma? Well, when Naruto got home from the academy today, he immediately locked himself in the room. I suspect something bad happened to him at the academy today. Hiruzen sighed and nodded. He had figured something would go wrong today. I understand. Leave him alone until I get home. I'll try to see if I can coax him out of the room, Hiruzen said. Asuma nodded and then sunshade away. Hiruzen sighed and then got back to the paperwork. A couple of hours later, Hiruzen had finally left his office and was now on his way home. The whole time he was doing paperwork, he was also worrying about Naruto. Hiruzen arrived at the home and walked through the doors. Asuma and his grandson Konohamaru immediately greeted him. He waved hellos before going upstairs to Naruto. Hiruzen arrived at Naruto's room. He quickly knocked lightly on his door. He got no response. Naruto-kun, it's me, Hiruzen said softly. Naruto waited several seconds and then heard a click. He twisted the handle of the door and was in. He saw Naruto was sitting on his bed with his head down. Hiruzen sat on the bed next to him. Naruto, what happened to the academy, my boy? Hiruzen asked. Naruto remained quiet for a while before lifting his head. They kicked me out. As soon as the teacher saw me, he kicked me out of the room. He said I didn't deserve to learn in his class. I wasn't even allowed to attend the first lesson. Stop bitching about it, you fucking pussy. If they annoy you, just kill them, Kyubi said. Hiruzen's fist tightened to an extreme measure. He had assigned Iruka to teach Naruto because he thought he was able to get over his hatred for him. Obviously, that did not happen. It's okay, Naruto, your teacher was just acting stupid. I promise it won't happen again. You say that, but it will happen. The villagers hate me. One day, the villagers will push me too far. And then Naruto stopped talking. The sparks started to fly off of him rapidly. Hiruzen placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder to calm him down. After several seconds, Naruto calmed down. Naruto-kun, I will personally deal with your teacher. I guarantee you that you will no longer get treated like that in the academy ever again, Hiruzen said. Naruto looked up at Hiruzen in eyes. He saw the honesty and truth in his eyes. Naruto nodded. When Hiruzen saw that Naruto was now okay, he smiled. Good. Now go asleep. Imagine that tomorrow is your first day at the academy. Ne? Hiruzen asked. Naruto jumped back into his bed and quickly fell asleep. Hopefully tomorrow was better for him. Hiruzen left the room and went to his home office. He threw his hands up and two Anbos appeared. I want you to bring me Iruka Imino immediately. I don't care if he's asleep or having sex. Want him here. Now! Hiruzen yelled, with barely containing anger. The two Anbo disappears in the sunshine. After 5 minutes, the two Anbo appeared with Iruka in his grasp. He looked tired, confused, and angry. Hokage-sama, why did you summon me this late at night? Can this wait until morning? Iruka asked coldly. Hiruzen slowly stood up and seemed to glide towards Iruka. He looked at him for several seconds, suddenly thrust his hand out and wrapped around Iruka's neck. He then lifted Iruka from his neck. I warned you, Mino. I fucking warned you, yet you did believe me. I said you were to treat him regularly like other children, yet you didn't. I should have killed you for your ignorance, Hiruzen said angrily. Iruka's hands were flying up to Hiruzen's. He was trying to peel Hiruzen's skin off. Unfortunately, it was a desperate and worthless attempt. Hiruzen was just too strong and too angry to let it go right now. Unfortunately, you are the only teacher that can change his ways. So for now, I will allow you to live. But if you dare go against my orders again and do anything to hurt Naruto, I will wipe your existence from this planet, Hiruzen said. Hiruzen loosened his grip and Iruka fell to the floor in a coughing and a shivering pile of flesh. Hiruzen looked down onto him in disgust. Get out of my office and return him to his home. Make sure to remind him that he has a lot to teach tomorrow, Hiruzen said. The Anbu nodded and then disappeared, grabbing Iruka in a sunshine. Hiruzen sighed and then returned to his bed. Sometime being the Hokage required a little tough love. Next day, Naruto woke the next morning feeling refreshed and excited for his first quote-unquote day at the academy. He was hoping that his teacher wouldn't be such an asshole this time. After having a hasty breakfast and saying goodbye to Asuma and Hiruzen, Naruto took off to the academy. As usual, he had to deal with the constant glares and harsh whispers from the villagers, but Naruto paid no attention to them. The villagers and continued his journeys to the academy. After several minutes, he arrived at the academy. Naruto walked into the classroom and took his seat in the corner of the room. He saw the first to arrive. He was So he decided to lay his head down. After about 10 minutes of the academy and started to fill with students. By now Naruto had fallen asleep, so he paid no attention to his fellow students. If he had been awake, he would have noticed that the arriving students seemed to be texting and trying to avoid sitting next to him. It seemed that their parents heard that Naruto was in their class and told them to avoid him. After 10 minutes, the remaining students filled in the room. Naruto woke up from his little nap and Ruka walked in the room. As soon as Ruka saw Naruto, his face tightened, his smile became forced, and his stance became defensive. Luckily for him, he was able to play it off because if he didn't, the army outside of the academy would be capturing him soon and killing him. Ruka took a seat at the desk and started to take a roll. When Naruto names got called, he gave a small pause before forcing it out. Naruto gave a weak hair after the Iruka continued the roll and with no problem. After taking roll, Iruka started the class. Okay class, the first thing we're starting is going to be the history of Konoha. If you would please turn the page 5 in your history books. All the class letters are grown but still took out the books, and as soon as Naruto saw the page of the textbook, he knew today was going to be very boring. Kami, kill me now, Naruto thought to himself. I'll gladly do it for her, Kyuubi said. Midday lunch break. Students filled out the academy, excited to be able to take the break and meet up with their new friends. Naruto was also excited to have an opportunity to meet some new friends. Naruto saw two girls playing alone and decided to try and make them. Sakura Haruno had never been a very popular girl. She would usually stay in the house to try to avoid talking to the children. But today she met her friend Ino, and that all changed. Ino had made Sakura short to be more talkative and open to the new people. But now they were both playing in the fields during their recess. Naruto slowly walked towards up to the girl. He slightly tapped Sakura on the shoulder. She turned around in simply surprised to see the blonde-haired boy standing behind her nervously. She smiled and waved at him. Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I was wondering if you want to play with me. Sakura's face fell when she heard Naruto's name. Her mother had told her that he was a demon and was the reason her brother and uncle died. No, my mother said you were a demon and I shouldn't be playing with you. Sakura said, what a childish excuse. This girl is going to grow up weak if she hardly believes everything her parents says. Naruto's face fell but then returned to normal when he remembered Ino was still there. He turned to her but his face fell again when he saw the expression on her face. It was a look of disgust. Naruto turned around with tears in his eyes and saw that his entire class seemed to be looking at him in disgust and mistrust in his eyes. When Naruto saw this, he dashed away crying. As soon as he ran away, the bell rang, signaling the recess was over. The students filed back into the room. Not a thought was given to Naruto. With Naruto was running throughout the forest with his fists in his eyes. He was really upset that all of his classmates hated him like their parents. Naruto ran through the forest blindly in an attempt to put as much as distance between him and his classmates. Naruto ran through the forest, dodging trees and jumping every log. Naruto jumped over a log and landed on the ground. Or he would have landed on the ground if not for a pit hole. Naruto fell into the hole screaming. Naruto fell onto the ground with a loud thud. He groaned as he got up. Naruto faced the pit hole and tried to climb back up. Unfortunately, the slope was too slippery to climb up. Naruto tried to use chakra to stick to the slope, but the slope was not responding to his chakra. He groaned and decided to explore the cave. Naruto slowly walked into the cave with his senses raised. He had to make sure to avoid any traps or enemies. Naruto continued to travel further and further into the cave. After a half hour of exploring, Naruto entered into a caravan. The caravan contained a podium with a large scrolls on it. The walls were littered with the hanging paints and bloody claw marks on it. Don't open that scroll, Kyuubi suddenly said. Naruto seemed confused at Kyuubi's sudden speech and decided to go against the beast's orders. Naruto walked up to a scroll and took it off of the podium. The podium suddenly started to shake as the entrance was suddenly blocked by a large amount of rocks. Blades started to swing from the ceilings. In an attempt to kill Naruto, Naruto dropped the scroll and dropped his body onto the floor. The blades swung useless above Naruto. Suddenly the floor started to open under him. Fire started to spew out of the openings. Naruto pushed himself off of the ground and onto the wall. The fire started to melt the hanging blades. After 5 minutes, the flames stopped. The room started shaking. Naruto sighed in relief and went over to pick up the scrolls. He opened and saw that the scrolls were blank. The top of the scrolls were decorated with pure black cat-like creatures. The top of the contract held instructions telling Naruto how to sign it and hand seals that go with it. Naruto signed and then took out the kunai and slid his finger. He then spelled his name out in the blood. Suddenly, a cloud of smoke appeared around Naruto, and this and the scroll. The smoke cleared seconds later and nothing seemed to have changed. Naruto searched around his body to find a difference. Naruto looked at his arm and gasped at the new ornament. A tattoo of a cat-like creature that ran the length of his arm was now on his arm. The creature had his mouth open and seemed to be in a bouncing position. Naruto looked back at the scroll to see what he needed to do. Naruto went through the hand sign as he slammed his hand onto the ground. A human-sized puff of smoke appeared next to him. Naruto heard a loud growling coming from the smoke. Suddenly the creature that was on his arm bounced out of the smoke. Naruto managed to dodge the creature, only to due to his training. The creature landed and crawled at Naruto. It bounced once again at Naruto. Naruto ducked under it and managed to land a punch on the creature in the stomach. The creature slammed into the ground in a deep heap of black fur. Naruto stood panting. He slowly started to walk toward the downed creature. He kneeled down and touched it. It suddenly sprang up and faced Naruto. But instead of snarling in anger, face that Naruto had faced a second ago, the creature was now smiling. Hello, young cub. I would like to inform you that you have just passed the Panther clan summoning test, the newly named Panther said. Naruto looked confused at the Panther part. He had never heard of a Panther that they had a clan. This is the Panther clan. They are a summoning clan. Summons are usually animals, animalistic-like beings that are to be used by summoners. XU. The Panther clan had the landed taken away by the Toad clan. They were supposedly wiped out, but I guess that they weren't, QB said. Naruto nodded in understanding. He looked up at the Panther with questioning eyes. Where are we and why did you attack me? The Panther remained and seemed to sulk towards Naruto. Naruto could see the strong muscles dripping under the smooth black fur. This is the tomb of my summoning contract. When the Toad took over our land, they slaughtered hundreds of us. We were forced into hiding, but that was 100 years ago. The Panther had been training and been growing in number. We have also been slowly taking back our land under the guise of a new summoning clan. I attacked you to test you. If you had died, then you would be new. You were weak and not worthy, but since you survived our traps and managed to land a hit on me, I knew that you are worthy, the Panther said. Naruto nodded at the new information. It was a lot to take in such a young age, but he was still able to process it. So I guess I'm your new summoner. So what's your name? Naruto asked. The Panther sat down on its leg and looked at Naruto. My name is Meonaka, young cub. What is yours? The newly named Meonaka asked. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said. Meonaka nodded. Well, Naruto-san, I have to go for now. For now, I am your familiar. Summon me if you would like to talk or need me to battle. Also, when you have enough chakra, try to summon the boss. I would also advise you to not tell anyone about this experience. I have a feeling few would believe you, Mayonaka said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto stood looking at the puff of smoke in shock. He was still trying to get over the shock that he was now a summoner. Fucking Panthers. Of all the summon in the world, it had to be the fucking Panthers. Sometimes I think Kami just enjoys punishing me. Why did I do to Kami to deserve this? QB said. Naruto laughed at QB's distress and collected himself. Naruto picked up the summoning scroll and sealed it into a storage scroll. He then began backtrack his way through a cave. He arrived at a pit hole, but something weird had happened. It seemed that a ladder seemed to be carved onto the earth. It allowed Naruto to gain a foothold and climb out. Naruto climbed out of the cave and started to navigate his way back to the academy. If he had doubled back to the hole, he would be noticing that it was no longer there. No matter how deep it goes, or no matter how deep he dug, how hard he might have looked, Naruto would never be able to find that hole again. 10 minutes later, Iruka was in the middle of teaching the class. The first thing he noticed was they got back. Naruto was now gone. He didn't know whether the Anbu took him away or was he just lost. All in all, Iruka really didn't care. Suddenly the door slowly opened and Naruto walked into the class. His shirt and pants were torn in several places. His right arm was wrapped completely. Naruto, where were you? Iruka asked in fake concern. Naruto shot a glare at Iruka and then walked up to his chair in the corner. As soon as he sat down, the children that were directly next to him changed their seats. Naruto sighed before laying his head down. Iruka decided to continue the lesson whether or not Naruto was paying attention. After the academy, Naruto had finally managed to escape the academy. It was officially for him. He officially hated the academy. He thought it was going to be fun, where he learned to become a better ninja and meet new friends. But instead, it was a place where the teachers hated him. They learned boring material, and all of the children and classmates avoided him like a plague. Naruto was now walking through the part of the clear in his mind. He saw several of his classmates playing with their friends and their parents, which watching each of them from afar. When the parents saw Naruto, they shot him dirty looks. Naruto decided to make trouble and walk out of the trouble for himself, and he got out of the park for that. Naruto was now currently walking through the streets of Konoha. He could see children playing with their parents, old friends taking with each other, and people just generally enjoying their lives. But when Naruto got into their sight, everything changed. Their smile would turn cold and they would turn defensive. They would start glaring at him. They did not make Naruto sad anymore. It mostly made him pissed. He knew why the villagers hated him, and he thought it was very stupid reason. He knew that he wasn't the QB, so why didn't they know? Naruto walked through the streets of Konoha with his mind lost in his thought. After 10 minutes, he realized that he had arrived at his old apartment. It was left alone. Naruto decided to try and explore his apartment. Naruto walked up the burnt and crumbling stairs. The door was still open, so Naruto walked straight through in. Naruto looked around his apartment. Burnt remains of his pictures hung on the wall. His bed was a pile of ashes. Naruto sighed at the sight of the old apartment. I cannot allow this to happen again, Naruto said. You have a summoning contract, you tard. Fucking use it. Naruto blinked obviously at this surprising good idea and decided to go with it. He put out his training gear and suddenly rushed out of the apartment and dashed into the forest. The villager looked confused as they saw a blur shot of Naruto's apartment. Naruto ran into the forest, avoiding the random tree or falling log. He arrived in a clearing that was relatively far from the village. He then bit his finger and went through the hand signs requiring for the summon. Naruto slammed his hands into the ground and a seal array appeared on the ground. A very puff of smoke surrounded Naruto. The puff of smoke cleared to reveal Mayonaka. Naruto-san, I did not expect you to summon me so soon. Naruto ran up to Mayonaka and suddenly bowed to her. Mayonaka, please help me train in the way of your Panther clans. Naruto asked desperately. Mayonaka was taken aback by this sudden question. She had never accepted Naruto to ask the training at such a young age, but inwardly she smirked. This was her chance to mold the perfect summoner for the Panther clan. Are you sure you can handle our training, Naruto? Panthers are very proud animals and will not accept a weak summoner. Mayonaka said, I can't do it. Please, I can't do it. I don't care how hard the training is, I can handle it, I just want to be strong. Naruto said. Mayonaka heard the conviction in Naruto's voice and smirked. She had found the perfect summoner. Now all she needed to do was to mold him. Okay, I will train you in the path and ways of our clan. The Panther clan, Mayonaka said. Naruto grinned, but what he didn't know was that Mayonaka was about to put him through some hellish training. Now, first thing you need to know is how Panthers hunt. We are stealthy and strong. We strike when our opponent least expected. We are unseen. When we strike, we only strike once, because all we need is one strike to kill, Mayonaka said. You need to learn how to use your stealth. You need to be able to hunt your prey without them knowing. You need to be able to kill in one strike. You need to be quick, strong, and quiet. Mayonaka said. Naruto nodded in understatement. Unfortunately, we cannot work on your strength because of your young age, but we can work on your speed and stealth. You are to run around the village without being able to be noticed. If you are seen, then you will have to run another lap. I will be following. Now go. Mayonaka said. Naruto suddenly took off running back to the village. This was going to be a troubling experience for him. 5 hours later, Naruto sluggishly returned to the clearing he was originally in. He was forced to run 7 laps around the village. The first three laps, Naruto was spotted. Immediately after that, it took him about half another lap for him to get spotted. On the 7th lap, Naruto remained unspotted. Naruto lay down on the forest floor, tired. Mayonaka skulked back into the forest, clearing again with a smirk on her face. You did good, Naruto-san. I expected you to have more laps, but it seemed your stealth and speed is actually pretty good. Of course, they are not up to Jaguar standards, but you are still good. Mayonaka said. This is the end of your training. Return back here tomorrow once you finish your daily duties or activities, Mayonaka said, before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto sighed and then picked himself up from the ground. He then started to trudge his way back to the village. By this time, it was night, and the only ones that were still in the streets were partying civilians and ninjas. Naruto managed to get back to the Sarutobi complex. He managed to sneak into his room. He groggily took off his clothes and collapsed into bed. He was asleep before his head even hit the pillow. as this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out.